Thanks for downloading Pave the Way Podcast. On this show, your host, Greg Helbeck, interviews the top minds in real estate, business, and personal development to help you crack the code so you can grow your business and, more importantly, grow your life. Get ready for another game-changing episode. If you want to learn how to master your day and become a productivity monster, download Greg's free guide on daily personal productivity for free at www.pavetheday.com. That's Pave the Day, spelled DAY.com. Now it's time for today's episode. Enjoy.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Pave the Way Podcast. I'm here with Sean Zavary out of the Houston, Texas market, who is absolutely crushing it. I'm really looking forward to interviewing this guy because, dude, how old are you, by the way?
I'm 28.
You're 28, so you're a couple years older than me. So you're a young buck, and you're doing some big things down in Houston. I heard you on, we've been going back and forth on Instagram for a while, but heard you on Steve Trang's podcast, and I was extremely impressed with your business. And I figured you'd be a great guest for the show. So I appreciate you coming on today to talk about your journey so far as an entrepreneur.
I appreciate you inviting me on here, man. Thanks for the kind words.
Cool, man. Well, let's get right into it. So for people who are not familiar with you, how did you get started as an entrepreneur back a couple years ago?
I always felt like I've been an entrepreneur. I mean, just because I've come from the business background, family background. I mean, I've seen my brother's door knock working for AT&T. I used to sell, candy in middle school, high school, sell those, CDs that people would want, like those burn CDs, like, hey, what do you want on this album? And I'll go ahead and just burn it, charge like $5 or something for that. So always been kind of like little entrepreneurial mindset. But so I used to work for my family's company when I was in high school and college for about 7 to 8 years. They have a furniture company out in Houston. 7 locations, 350,000 square foot combined of retail space. Yeah, it's huge. It's a very well-known furniture company. My dad started back in 1998 with my older brother, and started in 1998. And my dad passed away in 2009. So my brother kind of took over, and that's when we kind of all of our siblings were already involved in it with the day-to-day. And I did that for about 7 to 8 years. It was cool. Learned a lot, wore a lot of different hats from, accounts payable. That's where I started, accounts payable, accounts receivable, accounting department. Then I started doing inventory, warehouse, delivery driver, sales, and all that good stuff. So learned a lot. And that's kind of where I feel like the entrepreneur started because I knew, like, when I was in the accounting department, I was like, man, I can't just be crunching up these numbers all day. It
gets boring.
I was like, so I told my brother, like, hey, can I do something else? So I was always kind of just, wearing different hats. So did that. And then for about 7, 8 years, kind of saw a ceiling, to be honest, just didn't see myself doing furniture for the rest of my life, just with the retail world. Started getting into real estate, started getting interested in real estate. Ran into Nick Ruiz on Instagram. Alpha Flipping, purchased his book, started listening to podcasts, Sean Terry's podcast, and I was like, you know what, I got to take action. So I just started taking action and started putting bandit signs and sending direct mail, and basically that's kind of the rest of history. I mean, 5 years later, we got a team full of individuals that that we're just cranking out deals now.
Now you guys are doing real well in Houston, and that's something that really impressed me on, your journey, your backstory, having, the family business that you learned from. The big thing I took away from Steve's podcast when you were a guest on there was that you're doing more profitable deals now versus just trying to be a volume shop and do 30, 40 houses a month and make $2,000, $3,000 a transaction. I think the title of his show was like, you have some extreme net profit margin in your business that blew my mind. I want to ask you about that because a lot of guys get into this business, they start doing a lot of deals, but they're not netting a lot of money at all. They're netting sometimes less than 20%. Sometimes they're netting like 10%, or they're losing money. Right. So with your business model, what kind of when you first started scaling, like what were the first hires that you made when you first started to scale? And then I want to kind of start there, and then I have a few follow-up questions, but I want to ask like 3 questions in one and
Sure.
listeners.
Yeah. Well, the first hire that I ever made was a VA. She's kind of like an admin assistant. She's still with me to today. She does like my bookkeeping now. She's still like an admin assistant. But the first in-office position hire that I made was a lead manager, someone to take the incoming calls, because we were doing a lot of bandit signs. We were doing like, at one point, we were doing 400 bandit signs a week. So basically, there's a lot of incoming calls coming in from, buyers, people who want to get added to the list, sellers who want to sell their properties, construction, contractors, everybody, right? So we're getting a lot of calls. So I was like, I can't take all these incoming calls and go to appointments, because at that point we were going to appointments as well. So like, let me just have someone who answers the calls, takes the inbound, takes the notes, passes it on to me, then I'll go ahead and kind of vet them and see if it's worth going on the appointment. So that was a lead manager, was the first one. Then the acquisition was the second one. Right. And then from there, the acquisition team started growing. I didn't really get a disposition agent, because that was something that I was like holding on to, because I always heard that that's like the sauce, right? That's like, you can't let go of, your buyers list is your main thing.
Yeah.
Which I always heard of that. And I don't think that's true anymore, just because, buyers are everywhere,
Dude,
it's really,
that's so true.
Yeah. So it's not really the buyer. So I let go of that position. I delegated it and kind of, hired out that position as well back in 2019. But that was like the last position that I hired out and delegated, because I was just holding on to that. And I like talking to buyers. I like talking to, investors, and just kind of, iron sharpening iron type of thing, where we can talk and kind of, I like negotiating with them as well, a lot better than I like negotiating with sellers. So that's why I hired out the acquisition position, because I was like, these sellers, man, they're just
crazy.
They're crazy, especially the sellers we're dealing with. You got to understand where our target audience. So, so it was a VA, the admin, lead manager was in office, then acquisition, then eventually it was and then it was transactional coordinator. Then it was disposition.
Transaction coordinator. It's funny you brought that up, because that is something that it's important, but at the same time, it's something that can take up a lot of your time, like dealing with the drama of the title issues and logistics, especially when you're wholesaling, because you got 3 people kind of in the middle trying to make it all happen at once. Right. I found that, that can get a little challenging when you're wholesaling. I think, at least if I was closing on all properties myself, a TC wouldn't be as hard necessary, I think. But with the wholesale deals that we're doing, you're right in the middle there. So you got to line up, both sides got to be perfect, or else you're in trouble. So I've found that to be, in Europe, especially, you're doing a lot of deals. I'm sure that was a big relief off your shoulders when you're able to have someone do all the back and forth emails and earnest money deposits and all that stuff, Yeah.
And to piggyback off what you were saying about the net profit, what really kind of helped us out was combining those two positions, was disposition and transactional coordinator. I combined those two positions, 2 people into one. So that kind of helped us on the payroll expenses. And I felt like it goes hand in hand, because when you're wholesaling, the transactional coordinator really takes over when the contracts are sent to the title, affidavits of airships and whatnot. And then disposition, all you really need to do is market it out and kind of find the buyer. Once you find the buyer, your role is kind of done. So we just figured out, let's just keep going with the transactional coordinator.
100%. I found the disposition role to be more administrative than anything, especially in this market. And I learned this from Todd Toback, and I'm like, you're going to send out, like, right now, as this is going down, we have there's a showing going on that I'm not attending. Someone's going to control the showing, but literally you send an email, people meet at the property, you do a one-time showing, you submit the highest offer, and that you're not selling. It's the property selling itself, at least in my market. I don't know. I'm sure in Houston, it's the same thing. Right. Like, you don't really need to sell buyers on why they need to buy the property. Like, they're going to make their decision, and then you're going to just take the offer and move forward. You know?
The only selling you really need to do is like, hey, I'm accepting highest and best. So just give me a highest and best offer, kind of bluff on, it depends, but like, I got a lot of people interested. I got a bunch of offers coming in. So and that's easily delegated. You can just delegate. Tell someone that's, text that over, talk to them and say, hey, I got a lot of people coming in. So give me your highest and best. And that just builds urgency and, especially in this market, just like you said.
100%, man. Are you now, since you switched over to kind of like the auction style, are your, like, what have you seen in terms of the profit margins going up, like over the last maybe year or two, like by doing it? Cause I used to undersell my deals and I thought I was like the man, but I really was leaving like a ton of money on the table.
Yeah.
So what have you guys kind of seen since that in terms of a profitability standpoint?
So we started doing this about a year ago. A little more than a year, probably like around December when we joined a mastermind and kind of learned about that. And I was like, man, that makes so much sense. So I would say last year, probably from like January of 2020 to like August of 2020, we were getting like 5 to 7K over asking. But now, dude, the market is so hot, especially in Houston, and the buyers everywhere. It's like average 10 to 15
Over asking.
12K over asking.
So are you guys making like 20, 30K a wholesale deal in Houston? Like, what is it? I mean, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. So last year, 2020 numbers was 14K average. This year, 2021 so far, it's like in the 21, 22 average. Yeah, and that
Houston, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so the quantity has gone down. Like if you compare our first quarter numbers of 2020 to 2021, I mean, we did a lot more deals last year, because just inventory is low this year. But the disposition process, the disposition part of it, we're getting, our average spread is a lot, which is cool, which I'm totally okay with, because I'd rather deal with 5 properties and make the same amount where I have to, rather than 10 properties.
Totally, dude. That's been my model forever is lean and mean, big net profits. I don't care if everyone on Facebook is saying that they got 15 houses that month. Good for them. That's great. That's not easy to do, but I don't care. I don't let that phase me. You know what I mean?
15 titles that you got 15 sellers, 15 buyers, 15 titles. That's just more of a headache. I mean, it's cool especially when people coming in the game.
Yeah.
First couple of years, they want large numbers, large quantity. I'm doing 15 deals a month. That sounds super cool. It sounds sexy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once you
do it,
then you're just like, man, I want to just do one deal a month and just make 100K and I'm good.
Dude, honestly, you can do that in California. Like that's a legitimate, like, or in, New York City or something like that. Like you could, I mean, it would be tough, but you could do that, because the values are there. So dude, the thing I liked about your interview with Steve, I know we're talking a lot about that, but I personally was like, holy shit, I need to like message this guy immediately after this interview. I think I like pulled over at the gas station. I was like, yo, holy shit, like I got to get you on the show.
Yeah.
Because the thing I liked was that you're just super real. You're super upfront. You're very laid back and like chill kind of guy. You're not one of these guys who's all like hyper all over the place. What is something that you have learned by, just from doing wholesaling for the last like 5 years that none of the gurus tell you, right? That like, it's kind of the thing under the rug, that you just from experience, you have just learned that, man, no one says this. And if people knew about this, maybe they would at least have a better decision, have a better idea of what they're getting into when it comes to this business.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, there's a lot of gurus out there and they're saying a lot of different things. I mean, especially now, I mean,
it's everywhere.
My wife was on my Instagram accidentally. She got on my Instagram. I don't know how. She didn't tell me how, but she got on my Instagram. She was like, how do I follow all these people? They're like all trying. She's like, I wanted to buy a real estate course just by going through your Instagram feed. Because there's so many people, like there's a bunch of people just selling courses, which is cool. It's good, right?
Yeah.
It's a income producing avenue. So anyways, so there's a lot of people saying a lot of things. So I'm not sure what I say, I'm pretty sure someone said it already, but what I would say is there's a few different things, but one is, you just gotta, to get into the wholesaling business, it's not like something, let me just kind of look into it and just kind of, see if it works for me. You got to get in and be obsessed. Like it's a business and it seems simple, but it's not easy. No. So it's a business that if you want to get into, you got to basically roll up your sleeves day in and day out, late nights, early mornings, type of thing. And you just be obsessed. I mean, when I got into it, I was just obsessed with just podcasts. That's all I listened to for a whole year. I didn't listen to music. I still don't listen. Like now I go to the gym and I don't even listen to music. I just listen to podcasts because it's just what I was in tune to. So now I just listen to podcasts and I'm just learning all the time. So what I would say is just get obsessed with this business. And 2 is just, I'm sure a lot of people say this, and this is what I started doing in the self-storage business as well. But you just got to start failing forward, start taking action, and you're just going to figure, you obviously, you're going to do things that you're not supposed to be doing, but that's just how you're going to learn. So just failing forward.
100%, man. And that's phenomenal advice. Cause a lot of people, I think the thing I've noticed with wholesaling, and you made two good points there, is that a lot of the gurus make it seem like you could do it part-time, which you can, in theory, you can do it part-time, but it takes so much, especially in the beginning when you don't know what you're doing, it takes so much more energy and effort to actually put a deal together because you have no skills in the beginning for the most part. And people, they think that they're going to like make 100 calls and get a $10,000 assignment fee. And that's just not reality in this, especially in this market where there's a lot more, it's just tougher to get deals, but you can make more money. I think if they just had the right expectations going into it, they would be 20 times better off, just whether they wanted to do it or not. And another thing I think that people don't talk about, that I've discovered this just from the hard way,
right?
That I don't think wholesaling is real estate investing. If you were to define real estate investing, I think wholesaling is just sales and marketing.
Absolutely.
I think when you buy a rehab and flip it or wholesale it or rent it, I think that's technically real estate because you're like investing in a property. You're going to either sell it or rent it. And then but in wholesaling, you don't really even need to know a lot about real estate. Honestly, you need to know how to know your KPIs. You got to know how to run direct response marketing. You got to know how to convert and close leads. 100%. And you could probably not even know anything about real estate. Just from my experience, I'm like, man, half the shit doesn't even matter. What are your thoughts on that? Cause I've just over the years, I've been man, this is not really real estate investing. It's just your sales, and it's great. It's a great high ticket, high margin business.
Right. I agree with you 100%. It is a marketing acquisition company.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a marketing acquisition company because you're investing. Yeah, you're investing, but you're investing in data.
Right?
You're investing, if you're going to grow a team, you're investing in people as well because of processes. But, there's PropStream Propelli will tell you how much the ARV is. You
it's all
and after that, you just run your numbers backwards, or you just see what the as-is properties are selling for, and you just give them an offer. So it's really sales and marketing. And I agree with you 100%. That's what a lot of people don't understand, but it's just the gateway to get into real estate investing, right? Because once you can, and I tell this to a lot of people, once you get in, once you know how to find the deal, then you just hold the gold. And after that, once you kind of get your feet wet, then all right, I'm going to start, I'm going to wholesale this deal. I'm going to flip this deal. I'm going to keep this deal as a rental. I'm going to burst strategy this deal, whatever you're going to do. But once you know how to find the deal, then you hold the value.
100%. It's the best way to get in because you're like you said, you're starting at the foundation. And now as I'm picking up rentals and doing small commercial stuff, I'm marketing from the ground up. Right. I'm not relying on, and just that skill. I was saying this on a podcast an hour ago. When you have the ability to get deals off market, you'll always be able to make money no matter what happens in your life. You'll always be able to find a way to make 10, 20 grand a month because how to get something that people will always want, which is a discounted piece of real estate, Right. So I think that's the best insurance policy you could ever have is knowing how to find deals in a real estate market because
it works with just life, with life in general. If you're going to go into another business, sales and marketing, but just talking to people, right? I haven't spoke to this many people. I used to, but speak to hundreds of people a day, thousands of people a month. So your communication skills improve. You're able to kind of hold random conversations that people at restaurants, malls, and just kind of just figure out, and the sales, right? The sales, if you can learn how to talk to someone and kind of just persuade them, then, that's a life hack.
It's a straight life hack, dude. That's so true, man. That's so true. So as you've really taken the more profit first approach, what was some overhead that you had that you got rid of that allowed you to, number one, run the business way more profitable, and number two, realize what the hell was I doing? Because I do that sometimes. I'll look at my P&L and I'm like, I don't need half this shit. And all of a sudden I just gave myself a $8 grand a month pay raise. So what are some things that you did to really optimize for that? Because that number, that the profit margins you operate on, it's amazing. And a lot of people need to pay more attention to this because, they're not making any money and they're not building assets either. They're just getting by.
Right. So there's a few different categories with the expenses in the wholesaling business, right? You got the marketing, which is important. You can never shut down the marketing, right? The marketing is your bloodline of your business because we're getting a marketing acquisition company. Second is payroll if you have a team. Second is payroll, and third is like operations and like subscriptions, and you got Podio, you got Propelio, you got all these other random DocuSign subscriptions that come up.
Yeah.
So what really helped us was last year I had and what really one was the payroll. So let's talk about the payroll. So, as you're kind of evolving into a one-man show to a team, what I was taught when I was coming up was bigger the team, the bigger the profits, the bigger the deals. I mean, the more deals, the more profits and all that. So I had, honestly, in January of 2020, even all the way until like March or April of 2020, I had a huge team. I had like 7 sales guys in my office.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's crazy.
I'm paying salary plus commission, right? So sales guys, then just not closers, but like junior acquisitions and senior acquisitions. So junior acquisitions, they're just calling, they're like lead managers, I guess you can say. So I call them follow-up agents as well, but they're just calling, vetting individuals that we haven't been able to get a hold of. They're calling them, pre-qualifying them, seeing if their ballpark is in our ballpark offer, and then they live transfer it to a senior acquisition. The senior acquisition hops on and gets
buys the deal.
Buys the deal. So I had junior acquisitions in office. And I was paying them $1,600 a month plus 3% commission, and then a $400 incentive on to make $400 incentive on their salary to make it $2,000 a month. So obviously I had 3 of them in the office. So that was a pretty big payroll was high. Yeah. So what I ended up transitioning into was the cold callers that I had that I'm paying in Costa Rica, paying them $5 to $6 an hour. They came out with I was like, they're calling individuals like raw data all day. Might as well put them into my Podio system and have them, pre-qualify these sellers. And if it's somewhere, they're in a ballpark, or if it's a motivated seller, they can just do a live transfer to my senior acquisitions.
Yeah.
So that's what we ended up doing. We ended up getting rid of our junior acquisitions, getting the Costa Rican callers. They started going ahead and, pre-qualifying these sellers. So that, $1,600 to $2,000 a month salary plus 3% commission went down from, paying them $400 a month, $400 to $500 a month.
Oh, you dropped. Yeah. You just put a ton of money in your bottom line.
Exactly. So that was a big change that we made that, was extremely profitable. And also these junior acquisitions that were in my office, they were making anywhere from 60 to 70 calls, but these callers in Costa Rica, the cold callers, they're used to making hundreds of calls a day. So they're just going and just making calls, right? And they're immune to it. That's what they do. So we were getting a lot more live transfers. We were getting a lot more sellers. We were getting a lot more deals from just them, making those calls. So it was one with productivity, and then one with, efficiency with the payroll expense. So that was one. 2 was, when we were during quarantine, I started going through the expenses and seeing what we had on subscriptions, because subscriptions could rack up, especially just kind of good. When you're in the business and stuff like that, you're just getting random subscriptions. So I had, subscriptions that did the same thing, and I was like, so I cut them out. That cut like 50% of our operation expense. And then my team became leaner, where I had, 3 to 4 closers on my team. This happened by accident. I didn't do this on purpose. It was just, closers that I had, the senior acquisitions, some of them wanted to start their own business. Obviously, that's what they do, right? They come in, guru teaches them that, hey, go to someone who's shaking and baking in your market and learn from them, and then just go in and do off
just
your
go
own.
dip out on your own. Yeah.
Don't worry about the non-compete that you signed. Who cares about that? Right. So
integrity nowadays anyway.
Yeah. I had a couple of them who learned from me, stole some of my data, and just did up their own thing, which was a blessing in disguise, because it made my senior acquisition, my closers, a lot leaner. So I ended up going from like 3 to 4 closers to really only 1 closer, and that kind of cut it down. And so
made him more money too. He made more money.
It made him more money. It made, he was just kind of just focusing, rather than him prospecting, he was just getting leads like alley hoop to him from the follow up agents. They're just like, hey, dude, they want 50 to 60. Our maximum allowable offer is 70. There goes the deal. And he was just getting deals like that.
There goes the deal.
Hey, yeah. I was like, damn, this is brilliant. Like this is like, let's keep doing this. So right now we only have 2 closers, 2 junior acquisitions, which are the follow-up agents, and one transactional coordinator in disposition. So the payroll expense went down with that. The subscriptions went down. And then we just became smarter on our marketing, right? We just became smarter as in this is what's working, this is what's not working. I mean, sitting at home for quarantine was a blessing in disguise, man. It was amazing. We just sat at home all day. My wife was pregnant too. So we didn't have to go out anywhere. I was mainly focused on my business and my wife with being pregnant, and just like, all right, this is what's working in our business. This is what's not working in our business. This is what we just need to double down on. This is what we need to cut out. And that's it. It was just focusing more on the KPIs, on the marketing part of it.
That's amazing, man. That's such a, I mean, you were able to just see the forest from the trees. You know what I mean? And
the business is simple. It is, but it's not simple when you're getting in. You know, the first couple of years, 3 years, you're
it's chaos, dude. So, it's pandemonium.
It's experience. Experience trumps everything.
It's so true, man. That's so true. And that, like, it just comes down to like, it's leads, offers, contracts, closings, revenue. And then you can make a whole fucking empire out of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and the people like, oh my God, like I've even noticed, man, with some of these like softwares that are out there, I have found that if I just know my numbers and I know my cost per deal, which I know, I can have the most stacked list in the world. But like, that is almost like, I have not found that to be as effective as people make it seem. I'm not saying it doesn't work at all. It kind of does, but I'm better off knowing my numbers as a true business owner and just going off of that than being like, oh, let me 9 stack this list and only market it. Like, I've found the software to be a little bit more confusing than effective, at least in my business, in my area. Mm-hmm. I like going off just, I know my cost per deal. I know what the KPIs are. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, they look for these shortcuts, which some of them will definitely help you. Mm-hmm. But I think if you really know your numbers and it comes down to how many leads are you getting in and how many offers are going out, and, you know, whether it's you or your team, you're going to be in a better position. Then you can take those numbers and you can manipulate them and use some software to help that. But at the end of the day, if you're not making offers every day, you are going to be in trouble. You're in trouble.
Just like, I mean, I feel like it's best what Ben Daniel says, TTP, talk to people, man. You just got to talk to people. Because when you talk to people, you tell them what you're doing, you tell them, hey, I'm buying houses. It just, there's law of attraction. Things just start coming your way. True. So instead of like, and us entrepreneurs, we have the shiny object syndrome, right? But when people are getting in, their shiny object syndrome is, oh, this new software, this new list, this new stack, whatever. And that's what they're focusing on, rather than talking to people, making them offers and letting them know, hey, I'm buying houses. Do you know anybody who's looking to sell if you're not looking to sell?
100%. And then following up, which is where we get like all of our deals, by the way. It's like follow up. Like, you know, it's embarrassing how many deals come from follow up, where it's just like they were not motivated in, you know, June or whenever. They're not motivated in September, but now, you know, whenever. It's just crazy. I mean, people who are not following up are just, they might as well just give me their CRM and I can follow up.
Right.
You know, anyway, man, we could talk about this for hours. Listen, as you've built your successful business, you know, and learned a lot of lessons over the last 5 years, what is, you know, what would your best advice be for someone who is either new to the business or they're looking to get their business to the next level in terms of, you know, going from maybe doing one deal every few months to having this be a real consistent source of income, whether they want to build a team or do it on their own? What was, if you had to give them like just a golden nugget that you've learned from experience, what would that be as we wrap the show up?
What I learned from experience, I mean, so what I've learned, one is putting your head down and just getting to work, right?
The work, bottom line.
Bottom line is the work, but also, you know, finding like a group, like, you know how they say, like, you know, you're like the fourth, like mastermind, right? Masterminds is
so powerful.
It's so powerful. Masterminds, connecting with individuals who are doing it, and honestly, copying and pasting, man, that's all it really takes. It's not complicated. Like finding what's working for others, what you feel can work for you. Because, you know, there's a bunch of different, you know, marketing channels out there and, you know, things of that nature out there. Don't just try everything, but try what's working for someone. See if it will work for you, if it fits your, you know, your lifestyle, your buying criteria, or your team, environment, culture, whatever it is, and just copy and paste it and just learn from them. I mean, you have to surround yourself by individuals who are doing things, who are shaking and baking. And you can't just, you know, if you're trying to be a real estate wholesaler who wants to make 7 figures, you can't be hanging around with your friends who have 9-to-5 jobs and playing basketball on the weekends. Like, that's not going to work.
It's not going to work, man. It's not. Yeah.
You got to put yourself in those environments that you want to put yourself into, right? It's, you have goals, people create goals, people have visions and stuff like that, but it's really those habits that you have and the individuals that you surround yourself that you're really going to become. So if you don't have the habits of, a 7-figure wholesaler or a real estate investor or wherever you want to be, then it's going to be hard for you to be that type of person. You have to manifest that, right?
100%. Man, that's such good advice. I hope the listeners rewind that, because they say they want to do it, but then they don't follow up with their actions. They're like, they want to make 7 figures, but yet they're playing Xbox for 3 hours a night.
Exactly. You can't read Xbox. I mean, you can't play Xbox or people are like, yeah, I'm reading books. I'm reading Harry Potter. Bro, Harry Potter is not going to get you, there. You got to read the different type of books. You got to change your frequency on your mind to get you to that level that, other individuals are at. And it's possible, man. Then, like I said in Steve Train's podcast, I always look at it this way. Why can't I do it? If someone else is doing it, it's not egotistical way or anything like that. We're all the same. We're all humans. We all have 24 hours. If he or she can do it, so can I. It just takes work. It just takes mindset, and that's it. Just go for it.
That's so true, man. That's great advice to end the show on, man. Well, if people want to get in touch with you and connect with you, what's the best way for people to connect with you and your company? And
so they can Instagram and Facebook is good. They can email me as well. So Instagram is Sean Zavary, SEAN, Zavary, Z as in zebra, A-V as in Victor, A-R-Y. Same thing with Facebook, Sean Zavary, or they can email me at Sean@greenlightoffer.com. So Greenlight.
Awesome. Sean@greenlightoffer.com. We'll make sure that we have that in the show notes. And Sean, man, appreciate you coming on the show as a guest, man. I could talk to you for hours. And man, I hope you guys keep crushing it. And this was definitely a great show. And I know some listeners are going to get a lot of value from it.
Likewise, buddy. I appreciate you having me on here again.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Pave the Way Podcast. We hope you got value from today's episode. Make sure you download Greg's free guide on daily personal productivity for free at www.pavetheday.com. That's Pave the Day spelled DAY.com. If you have any questions or want to reach out, head over to www.pavethewaypodcast.com. We'll see you on the next episode.